Everybody, welcome to 523 week 7. So this week we're going to be talking about assessment in e-learning. There is an article for you to read. There's a handful of stuff for you to read. I have a few thoughts around that. So formative assessment, don't feel like you ever need to buy these, but maybe bookmark them. Show your work. Do you know it? Do you love it? It's easy. There's lots of pictures. Ready? That's actually not, there are no pictures there. But look, most pages are like this. So you can actually read this. Here's a chapter. You can read this whole thing on a 2-hour flight or 2-hour whatever, 2 hours of your life. Really good. It's really changed the way that I think about how teachers and how students create and show their work. And just it's basically formative assessment. But also for me, it's the kind of thing like I have a bias towards sharing, and hopefully you're developing that in this course. But for people who don't quite get it, this book has really changed. I've bought like 50 copies of this book and given them to all kinds of people. Um, it's good stuff. So right, there's one thing where you just kind of do something on your own, but then to actually reflect on it and share it and put it out there and have conversations about it, for me, it completely changes everything. There is an article around badging. I want to share and connect you with Kate Tolnai. Kate spells her name C-A-T-E. She recently got hired by Q. So if you remember, and hopefully you are a member at this point, it's free. She works for Q and she sends out emails occasionally. So that name might sound familiar. Pardon me. She's done a lot of work around badging. She's really excited about that. So connect with her, talk with her about that. And there's a bunch of apps and web platforms that help with just kind of keeping track of and sorting and filtering and organizing student work. So Seesaw is a big one for younger students. Sesame is another one, and then for older students, Bulb, B-U-L-B, like a light bulb. Bulb app is another one we use all three in a variety of ways at our school. A lot of schools or districts will say, thou shalt use this, and I find that doesn't work. So we have a bunch of stuff. We're seeing what works and what people tend to be excited about. But the idea, I think I know Sesame the best, is that you can take a picture of student work, you can tag that student, you can tag like an assignment or a category or a lesson if you want, or a standard. But as the most simple photo of student work, make sure that student's tagged on it, and then like lesson plan time, just I wonder how the student is doing. You can tap on the student, it shows everything they've done. The cool thing once you start getting with it, with all of these, but particularly with Sesame, is that you can have students take pictures or videos or audio or just upload a file or attachment or whatever of each other and tag each other. So if you have 3 students that are giving a performance or shared a movie or playing an instrument, you can tag all 3 of them, and then when you click on that one student, it shows up for them. So it's really cool. I think we're in a place where assessment is becoming exciting. For me, assessment was just a dirty word. I really didn't like it at all. It was like every time I did it, I felt my soul get crushed just a little bit more. But all of these ways is just capturing student work and finding interesting ways for students to show their work in ways where they can really reach beyond themselves and make a difference, right? Like if they're just doing it for you, what's the point? I know the point, but right, if they're doing it and they're sharing it out in the world, and if there's like a greater good, my goodness, like why aren't we doing that all the time with our students? And it's not that hard. It's scary to start, and it might not work out, but compared to the assessments that I used to do that I was not excited about, I am more than happy to take that risk. Google Classroom, that is our final LMS. I almost hesitate to call it a learning management system because it's just so simple, so intuitive. It's completely free. If you have a G Suite for Education, it used to be called Google Apps for Education. If you have a G Suite account, then you're able to be a teacher, and any student at your school can be a student and sign up. Super, super easy. They recently added the ability for a Gmail account, just a regular Google account not related to education, to be able to have a G Suite Google Classroom account, right? I think the only catch, and it starts to get tricky, so don't worry too much about it, but I think that if you have just a Gmail account, you cannot invite people that have school accounts. So those are still kind of separate. So if you have a Gmail, you invite other people from Gmail, or if your school is a Google Apps school, then you want to stay in that ecosystem. It's pretty exciting if you happen to not be at a Google school or school using G Suite for Education, then you're able to still do it, and that was not the case before. So one thing I wanted to share, and again, don't remotely feel like you need to buy it or whatever, but my friend Alice has a couple of these books, 50 Things You Can Do with Google Classroom. See, there she is. Great book. I bought it for a bunch of our teachers. Every year when new teachers come, I get maybe half a dozen of them. If you want a book, great. If you want to borrow it, great. There's also another book, 50 Things to Go Further with Google Classroom, and just alicekeeler.com has tons of resources. A lot of it's kind of, paint by number. Hey, here's a problem. Here's the steps with screenshots of how to address it. So she's really excited about sharing a lot of stuff, and she shares a lot of stuff pretty regularly. So we're now on December 4th, the week of December 4th. It's Hour of Code, it's Computer Science Education Week, it's Everyone Can Code, whatever you want to call it. The idea is for you and your students to spend 1 hour learning how to code, learning about computational thinking. If you don't have any devices, CS Unplugged, Computer Science Unplugged, has a bunch. You get some cups and you can, just by drawing arrows, stack it and make like a cup pyramid. Super engaging and surprisingly difficult to do. There's also some higher end ones. We have a whole Star Wars themed one, so R2-D2, and you can code him in either the Sphero EDU app or in Apple's Swift Playgrounds. You can click the plus, do a new playground, and then under accessories, R2-D2, and it's hard. They really made it challenging to be able to control this guy inside of Swift Playgrounds. If you don't know about Swift, Swift is the coding language that builds iOS devices. So if you get good at Swift Playgrounds, you can move on, or your students can, into app development with Swift, app development with Xcode. These are all free resources. There's teacher guides, student editions, lots of just scaffolding and step-by-step. It's hard, it's complicated to build an app like out of nothing, but it's there. And I love the idea that you can take a little R2 droid and learn actually how to code in Swift. So that's super exciting. We have all kinds of stuff you can actually see. I'll just give you a little behind the scenes. All the stuff's out in the hallway. But just this is my to-do list. Each one of these is a session. So those spheros, those little balls, maybe you don't know. Hang on a second. This is a Sphero, and you can code it. So using the Sphero app, using Tinker with a Y, Tynker, will let you code a Sphero. That's the little Sphero logo. You can also use Swift Playgrounds to code these. So it's not just let me drive him and like push forward on my app and he moves forward, or it. It's not a he. But you can actually go to like move forward at 30% speed at this heading for this many seconds. So it gets pretty cool pretty quickly with these guys. So don't be afraid to give them a whirl. If you don't have access to these, hopefully you're a member of Q. If not, cueq.org/membership. Become a member. It's free right now in their 40th anniversary of being an organization, and you can rent for free, if you're a member, the Steampunk kit. It might be just q.org/steampunk. What do you think? Should we give it a shot while I'm recording this? q.org/steampunk. What do you think? Yes. Nice. I get bonus points. You can borrow a kit, and then you just owe them a couple pictures, right? You just pay for shipping on the way back to. That's actually the only ways you can do it without having whatever whole crazy accounts. You can have little bits. They have lots of stuff. They have lab discs. I'm just reading this now. A class set for a dozen student makeys, Spheros, Dash and Dot. This is the newer version of Dash called Q, which is really funny. There's lots of really cool stuff. There's some pipers and mazes and kind of, I don't want to say you name it, they got it, but there are a lot of kits that you may borrow for an entire school day. And then just, take some photos, write a blog post, or get interviewed, and make sure that they're good, and just pay return shipping. So Q.org/steampunk, it's good stuff. It's for members only. Become a member. It's a good thing. Q is an amazing organization. And that is all. Enjoy exploring Google Classroom. Spoiler alert, it's my favorite of all of them because it's so integrated with Google Drive and Calendar and Gmail, and I love and use all of those a lot. So it doesn't feel like an additional place to go and check and to forget passwords on. It's so tightly integrated, and I love, love, love that. One more hack, and then I will let you get to week 7. Although you're already in week 7. Inside of Google Classroom, it's labeled as like teacher and student, but you can hack it. So I have kind of a student club called the Tech Squad. They help, with stuff like this. They help troubleshoot. They help build robots and try out new apps and all kinds of stuff. If we need photos to go on our Twitter account, they'll help take photos. Our school is going to be in a holiday parade. They're going to be using the app called Clips, made by Apple, which is amazing, to make a movie about making movies and about the parade. So they're going to be on the float. And the way that I keep in touch with those students in the Tech Squad is to have a Google Classroom class for the Tech Squad, have them join. Then if I have announcements, I post it there, they get an email, and they can reply in a threaded discussion, similar to like kind of Facebook is how I think about it. I can just email them directly from Classroom. If somebody like Megan, who works down the hall that way, wants to reach out to Tech Squad and ask a question about the parade, she was like, "Can you email them?" I was like, "No, I will not, but I will add you as a teacher inside of Google Classroom, and then you can just do an announcement," which is essentially like an email, but it's like kind of a threaded discussion, and then students can just reply. We're good to go. You can also do assignments where they have to submit things, and also within Classroom, what I love is when students want to take a photo and share it with me so that we can tweet it out as a school. I just have a Google form, and that form just lives in that third section inside of Google Classroom. On the About, you can have class materials. So it's called Social Media Tech Squad, and it's just a link to the Google form. And there's just links to stuff they need in the About. So there's like the stream. That's the first thing where I tend to post just announcements for kind of my not classroom hack of Classroom. I can also, do kind of an assignment where they have to share something with me. But it's mostly just for saying, here's a link, here's what we need. And then if you need something, go to the About section. So it's a really cool way to email students that aren't necessarily in a class. And I wouldn't do that in kind of any of the LMSs that we've had so far. But it's really cool because it's so tightly integrated with G Suite for Education. So have fun in week 7. Have fun with Everyone Can Code. And if you just want to get out there and just have fun, Apple stores are hosting coding events all week long. Just hop on the hashtags Hour of Code or Everyone Can Code. There's lots and lots of stuff that you can do to dip your toe in the water of coding, particularly if you're listening to this and you're like, dude, I don't want to do that. This is the moment to just try it. Even just hourofcode.com. It starts off so super simple. And enjoy. Happy week 7, everybody.